podcast is hosted monthly by John Kenney, CEO of Cotney Consulting Group and one of our incubator program sponsors. The incubator program was designed to partner emerging companies in the construction sector with mentors who will guide them to success. We will cover go-to-market strategies, operations and controlled growth, scaling, and more. This information is from our incubator program's hands-on training. We hope you enjoy the podcast.
Hi, this is John Kenney with Cotney Consulting Group, welcoming you all back. We have a new episode coming up today on our Accelerator podcast. Today, we got a really good special guest. I'm going to give Keith a chance to introduce himself and what they do, but I want to let you know where this is important for, we have a lot of new contractors that listen, but also seasoned. So we're going to cover today the permitting process, inspections, and different things that go on, and Keith will get deep dive into that. But this can be pretty difficult for even the most seasoned contractor. As you know, me being in the business a long time, we had a lot of issues doing this, but this can be really overwhelming for a new contractor starting out. So when we get done here, you should have a really good idea of the whole process and how there's available tools out there to help you. So with that, Keith, I'm going to turn it over to you. Give a little introduction to yourself and your company and take it away and what you got for our audience today.
Hello, my name is Keith Franklin. I work for SkyeTec Engineering Services. We do private provider inspections, both in person and virtual. Today, I'm the private provider manager over the whole entire state of Florida. And what we want to do today is there's a lot of things that's changed in the Florida statute that makes virtual inspections readily available, especially for the single trade inspectors. That's what I want to go over today, is how it makes it, the new statutes that make that a whole lot easier, where they can, if you got a roof, you can possibly get it done in one day and not have to wait 3 and 4 days for an inspector to show up or not show up at all. So what I want to start with is Florida statute is that we're going to be dealing with is 553.791. That is all about, this statute is plans review and inspections. That's what this covers. My company, we spent a lot of time last year and the previous year updating some language inside this that makes it easier for the single trade inspector, the single trade customers or contractors that's out here. Starting with now, we'll start with the notice of building official and the notice of commencements. We'll start with that because the notice of building official is probably that's probably one of the hardest things to understand. If you're doing 3, 4, 5, 6 roofs a day and you're a roofer, you want to take and use a private provider, you have to have a notice to building official turned into each municipality for that job. The way the notice to building official works is saying, hey, me and my customer, we're wanting to use a private provider. We don't want to use the municipality anymore. We want to use, it may not be my company. I'd like for it to be, but if it's not, so be it. As long as we get it done and we get it done properly. This form that you fill out, some of them are AHJ specific, like Seminole County. They have their own notice to building official. You have to fill it out. When you fill it out, you'll fill all that paperwork out. What they're looking for is the homeowner's signature, or the property owner, and the contractor. That's all that needs to be filled out. Everything else with the notice of building official, it also has a list of all of the inspectors that work for that private provider. Those will be listed, so they're actually shown who will be going out to do these.
So Keith, I got a question for you. Just want to interrupt a minute if I could on this.
Yeah.
So kind of looking at this, you said about getting that signed by either the building owner or the homeowner, right? So I guess
Right.
that could be a problem. They got to make sure that they're not getting a tenant to sign it, correct? Because
Right.
if it's a rental unit with a tenant,
Yeah.
that'd be an issue, correct?
Yeah, the easiest way to do this everybody has to get a notice of commencement signed. The easiest way that we have found is when you get the homeowner or the house owner or the property owner, when they sign the notice of commencements, let them sign the notice to the building official at the same time. That saves everybody a whole lot of work. You can do it all at one time. It's a time saver. That's unreal. A lot of our customers have the notice of commencements, notice to building official, and the contract all signed at the same time. Yeah.
Nice,
So
nice
that way
deal.
that's a easy, it's fast, it's easy. They sign 3 documents and you're done. So I mean that makes life really easy.
Good, nice tip.
And when you're doing this, you turn that paperwork in, the notice to building official in, the same time you apply for your permit. You turn it in just like you turn in for when you're applying with your notice of commencements, your product approvals. You turn it all in at the same time. I have seen municipalities turn these around and give them right back to you over the counter. You can do these. I've seen them being done through email, through a portal through the municipalities. I've seen them done several different ways. But the easiest way to get the signatures there again is do it when you're signing a contract with your customer. Next, I want to go into when you go to a private provider, the Florida statute, which is 2B, tells us that the municipality can't charge you full price for this permit anymore. So if your permit was $200 for them to do all the work, they have to give you a reduction in cost, which with that reduction in cost, that will recoup some of the money you're paying for the private provider. They're still allowed to pay. The way the Florida statute reads, it can be a nominal administration fee because they still got to do paperwork too. But as far as the inspections, they got to take away what is not being done or not being completed by the municipality. They're supposed to take all those fees away. So that saves a whole bunch of time and money in the long run for the company itself. I mean, that way you're not paying the municipality and the private provider for doing the same thing. And it makes it a whole lot easier to do this. That's the easiest way to make that where it needs to be. Now,
So before you
if
jump
you read
on
a little
to the next
deeper,
one, let me just jump in here. So you've been citing the Florida statutes in that. So if any of our audience really want, and believe me, this is some deep reading if you want to get into it. But if you want to go see any of the statutes, you can go right to the state of Florida site and look up these statutes and the number, and they're going to be in the legal format the same way it passes through our House and the Senate up there in the state house. But they're all
yes, it will.
Everything Steve's telling you there is right in print, right on the site, and a lot of times contractors will print those things out and take them with them for proof when they need it. But you got it all there. So I just want to let that know, Keith. Now back to you for what you got going.
Yeah. When you go online, you can do a search for Florida statutes, alternative plans review and inspections. And it'll pull it up every time. Make sure that you go to the 2022 version of the Florida statute, because if you get an older one, then they still have those out there available to you see. Next thing is, a lot of people say, well, you're a private provider, you can't do the inspections. Well, yes, you can. If you are a licensed inspector in the state of Florida, it says as long as you're licensed for that discipline, you can work for a private provider. And a private provider can be an engineer, it can be an architect, or it can be a building official. Any one of those three can be a private provider. And if you can work for a private provider as long as you have that specific trade license. So I have mechanical, electrical, and building, all commercial. Because I have those and I work for a private provider, I can do any three of those inspections, for any three of those disciplines. So if they tell you it can't be done, Florida statute 553-791, number 3, it's listed. Number 3, who can do the inspections? These are the people that can do the inspections. And it goes into great detail on who can do it, what they're allowed to do. If I had my building official license, I could do an inspection on any building at any point in time, as long as I don't go over 1,000 square feet in engineer. But as a private provider, you got inspectors that's doing these inspections for you. You're just verifying that, yes, these were properly done with the proper licensed individual. So that's the reason why a building official is able to do it. There's some tricky language in there that the AHJs or municipalities will try to say, hey, no, you can't do that. It's all about the language. But if you read it and you read it really close, most building officials, a lot of the older building officials, they don't read that very close and, oh, we can't do private provider. Nope. This statute actually tells you, yes, you can. That's probably another big one to really sit and focus on. If some of your readers or some of your audience, they want to really get into it, that's one to really read very closely, is number 3. When you look at 553.791, you really want to read those closely. Going on down, we can do things, and this wording got changed in the 2022 Florida statute when it got approved July 1st. It specifically says now in version F, it gives you a description. You can do things both in person and virtually. It has now been 100% proven. It's in black and white. You can do virtual inspections. If they tell you you can't do it, yes, you can. And that we'll go into a little bit later. I'm going to take and explain a little bit more on the virtual, on how that works. But the virtual inspection, that's going to be a time saver. Now, if you're doing virtual, you don't have to worry about the county coming up and showing up on the job site. Counties are starting to look at it now, and they are doing virtual inspections as well. Some do it, some don't. Some are better at it than others. So even if you don't use a private provider, the Florida statute says, yes, it can be done virtually now. So that's a major change from the previous versions of the Florida statute.
Do you have to record the actual inspection and keep it on record, or?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
We don't record the video. We take still pictures. That each still pictures that we take are time stamped and they are geotagged. It actually gets you within 10 feet of the geolocation that you are, with the longitude and latitude location. That's what it gives you. It gives you coordinates, and it puts you within 10 feet of that, which is huge whenever you got a building department that will come up. Well, how do you know this is where you're at? Put in these coordinates. It will tell you where I'm at. It will show you the address, exactly where you're at, on any digital map online that you go to, whether it's Google, whether it's Yahoo, whether it's Bing, whatever you use for your MapQuest, whatever, it will put in those coordinates. It shows you exactly where you're at. That way, there's no doubt that you're doing exactly what you said you've done at the location.
Nice.
Which that's a really nice feature. Now, I'm going to get into a little bit more right here. The way, when you go through a municipality, you get a certificate of completion. Going through and there's a difference here, going through a private provider, you get a certificate of compliance. What we're saying on the compliance, we're saying everything was done properly. It was inspected to code. It is actually the way it's supposed to be. And we're verifying that it's what it's supposed to be. Then the building department, they issue a certificate of completion. So that's a little bit of a difference there. So if you ever talk about you hear them talking about COC for a municipality and a private provider, they're two different things. So there's some definitions there that you got to watch the acronyms on those definitions. And we got a little ahead of ourselves because the types of inspections and how we can do those virtually. The types of inspections, it says also in number 3 under 553.791, it says any single trade inspection can do these virtually, whether it's electrical, mechanical, plumbing. When we start talking about I was talking about the single trades inspections. The Florida statute really defines it now on the 2022 statutes on who is allowed and it makes it a whole lot easier to do virtual inspections. Single trades, the single trade service changes for electrical, mechanical changeouts for mechanical or AC changeouts, water heater changeouts for plumbing. All these now can be done virtually as well, because the new Florida statute got changed out and it got updated in 2022. That has opened the doors up for so many other single trade single trade contractors. Now they're not forced to use a certain type of inspection process. You can actually use virtual inspections with private provider. You can use AHJs. You can use virtual or in person with them. You opens the door to a lot of other means that will save the single contractors, the single trade contractors, I should say. It saves them so much more time and money because they have options. That's something they've never had before. They've never had these kind of options. I know when I was a contractor waiting on an inspector, I might wait 2 days for him to show up. Yeah. And now you can have this, you can do a whole entire roof in one day. From the tear off, re-nail, dry in progress, final, you can do it all in one day because of this new updated code or statute. Now, after you do your inspections, whether you do it with a private provider or if you do doing it with a private provider mainly, closing out your permits using the private provider, there's a time frame for it. Now, the time frame for your reports, you may not, let's say you don't get done with your roof today. You still got to come back and do a final. The dumpster didn't get moved out. You got to call it again. Once you schedule with business days in order to do the inspection. That is do the inspection and have the report submitted to that AHJ. If you submit, let's say I do all my inspections except for the final, and it's going to be 3 or 4 days. As long as those reports are turned in, you can reschedule that final at a later date. Once that final is done and it gets turned in, all those paperwork has to be turned in within 48 hours of the inspection, no matter when it's done, inside that 3-day time frame. That's one of the codes. That is actually 13A, or excuse me, time frame for the reports on the HJ. That's number 4 in 553.791. Now, once you turn in all your paperwork, the certificate of compliance has been turned in, it's all been stamped, everything's done. The AHJ municipality, they have 48 hours to close out this permit. If they cannot close out this permit within 48 hours, they have to give you in writing why it's not being closed out. And they have to issue a certificate of completion to your customer. So whatever the homeowner is, they get that certificate. regardless. If they do not give you in writing the reason why they're rejecting it, it's an automatic pass. They have to give it to you. And that's what in 13A, it goes in great detail on what the requirements that the AHJ has to do when it comes to closing out these permits, which makes life so much simpler. Once you turn it in, if you don't hear nothing back in 2 days, that job's done. You don't have to worry about it. Then that is nice. It's been done. And if they don't close it out, it's like, I've turned this paperwork in, and 9 times out of 10, the private provider will get that CLC for you and show you that it's closed, so you don't have to do that. I know we do that for our customer. We go and verify within that 2 days, when is it closed out? And we send our customers, hey, this is on their website. This has been closed out. You can collect your final payment. You're not having to wait 2-3 weeks to collect your final payments on your jobs. And I know when you're doing a lot of insurance work, and I see a lot of roofing companies right now, they're waiting on insurance to pay. Well, there's not a lot of cash jobs coming through. Well, those cash jobs, that's what keeps the money flow coming through. So if you can close those out faster, that's money in the pocket. That keeps the capital moving, so you can continue growing and your business can grow. Yeah, it's all about, to me.
I want to jump in one other thing on there. You brought up about the importance of closing it out in that 2-day period, which is that's an amazing feat. That's great that that's done that way. So when I was back on the contractor side, what happens is a lot of times you think your inspection is done if you're doing it without going to a third party like we're talking about. And at the end of the year or the beginning of the following year, you get a letter from the state to the license holder letting them know that they have expired permits that have not been closed out. And that can become a ding against your license and a fine. So this is real important to have that comfort as a contractor, especially a new contractor with your license. The last thing you want to do is be dealing with DTPR with a license violation. So that's real important. And that is a great comfort piece that you just brought up.
Honestly, I never thought of it on that side of it before until you just brought that up. I'm glad you said that, because that's one aspect that on an inspector side of it, I never thought of that part of it. So yes, that is and that's a huge comfort. I'm glad you brought that up. Something else that I like really well about everything, and we did touch on it, is on the price of everything. Inspection software. This is something, there's a fee for doing the inspections with a private provider. One thing I want to make sure everybody knows going forward, if they want to use a private provider and they want to do things virtually, make sure that when you're looking at this, there's no hidden fees. Software fees. Let's say, okay, we'll do this inspection for you. Let's say, I'm hypothetical. I'm going to do it for you for $50. Well, if you don't do a certain amount of inspections a month, you may have a software fee, to buy their software, and I don't know specifically who does this, but I've had some customers tell me, which we have a flat rate. That's it. It includes the software, whether you do one inspection a month with us or if you do 500, it don't matter. We got a flat rate. We take care of the software. But other companies, they have a software package. You have to purchase this software package. And I've seen some of the software packages that the ICC sells. They sell a software package, and that I've seen it in different prices, but the ones I've seen mostly start out at like $500 a month, and they can go up. If you do more, they may charge more if you do more than X amount of inspections. Make sure you look at all those hidden fees before you sign a contract with any private provider. Make sure there's no hidden fees. Make sure it's not going to cost you more money than you're going to save. That's going to be the biggest thing. Make sure there's no hidden fees. That's a big one. And always make sure that whoever you use, whether you use my company that I work for, you use any other company that's out there. There's a lot of private providers out there. Make sure that they can show you a geotagged, whenever they do the inspection, it's geotagged. So you actually have, you can get a copy of it anytime, because we store all the data for our customers. We do that on a cloud-based system. Make sure that you have access to that inspection at any point in time, because we have homeowners that call, hey, I want to see the inspection you performed on our house. Okay, fine. Here it is. I've got it for you. You can have it. This is what we performed. This is what we done. And this is where the geotag is. It also gives the date, the time. It makes sure you get all that inside there. That's huge, because I've actually had the AHJ said, we don't think this is the right, you done the inspection on the right location. Yeah, well, here's all my information. This is the right location. I can prove at that point in time I did what I was supposed to do. So those are some tidbits right there. I want everybody to understand.
Good, very good one.
Not every private provider company, we're not equal. I mean, there's apples, and we're like apples and oranges out here in the field. I just want to make sure everybody's protected. There is nobody has any hidden fees. They're spending out more. And I want everybody to know these things that we're going over, these are something that I really feel like this is education that most contractors don't get. And I feel like it's hidden from a lot of contractors because they just don't know. And I just want people to know what's out there. I want them to see how things are. If we can save the contractors money, it's hard enough being a contractor the way it is. I mean, and if you can find a way to save a little bit here or there, I want these guys to know what's going on out there.
No, that's great. Very informational today. Keith, why don't you give some information of where any of our audience can reach out to you if they want to either get more information on this subject or talk to you about your services, because you're right, a lot of people don't know about this, so we got to help spread the word a little bit.
You can actually, I'm gonna my counterpart, he's online. I'm gonna let him take over. I normally don't do the advertising like he does. His name is Brad Ryan. I'm gonna turn it over. He's got the information on how you can get in touch with us. I'm gonna let him take that. And I'll have him get you the information you need.
All right, Brad, joining us here.
Yes, sir. Hey, great meeting everyone here on the call. I'm Brad. I'm the business development manager for SkyeTec Engineering, and you can obviously contact me via email or phone. I'll provide that obviously to you, John. And we look forward to working with everyone on this podcast and making their life simple, where it's just by code and not by craziness.
Sounds good. So I want any closing words you got before we break off here today?
Only closing things I've got is there's a lot of things changing, and it's going to be helpful for the contractor. Always be aware to watch the house bills that are coming through, that especially coming from all the different contractors. There's a lot of people that are helping change the Florida statute. Watch those Florida bills, those Florida bills that are going through a legislation. Watch those, and don't be afraid to speak out to somebody and say, hey, we need to make some changes here, and we can help you get to the right people to help make some changes, if to make things easier, things that are not clear, things that they're hidden from a contractor. We got access where we can get you all the information y'all need. Please reach out to us if you want that. Don't be afraid to reach out to your legislators. They can pick up the ball and run too. But always watch the House bills and make sure that you're up to date on this, because it could save you a lot of money in the long run.
Sounds good. Well, that being said, I want to thank you both for joining today. I want to thank the audience for joining us. And as always, you can reach out to me at jkenney@cotneyconsulting.com. And any questions particular on today, reach out and I'll get you in touch with the guys here, and they'll get you more information you need. But I think it's a great topic. I appreciate you joining us today with this topic. I don't think a lot of contractors understand this availability, and the more word we get out, I think it gives them a better option of what's out there for them. So we look forward to seeing everybody on our next episode we got coming up, and we'll see you then. Other than that, have a very happy day.
Thank you.